So this is a great place to start since all of this came out in the email this week. We are having a letter that should be handed out to members. And the cool part about having the letter that explains the difference between large group and small group training is people really get it. It's not just about being training with a few less people. There's a customization that just doesn't exist in the large group, and there's a tracking, and we go all the way down through to explain why it's such a game changer, why we believe in it so much, and the call to action is to try it for free. So with that call to action to try it for free, they can go over to our board and scan for a Kickstart session, right? So this is just kind of like their free session. Now, to be clear, a Kickstart session is different than a regular small group training session. We shouldn't book somebody's first session in with the group because it's tough to do an assessment while training people, right? And their Kickstart session is an assessment with a sample workout. So this just kind of explains exactly what's going to happen there. They scan the QR code. That QR code in our facility takes them to Recess to book. In other facilities, it could be a Calendly. Then we have, when it comes time for the Kickstart session, we are going to be doing this assessment. So let's talk about this assessment. And first I'll do the overview, and then we'll just do it like as if I'm going to coach somebody. So we're testing the squat. If there's no pain and they do it well, they can go on to the next thing. If their heels come up or if they lean forward, we have homework for that. It's usually indicating a tight soleus or a weak core. We do have a scoring sheet that we're using with this. You have a place where you can check, good squat, no pain. Heels came up, bad squat. So the different homework assignments are there. The notes are there. This score sheet will be really important for doing the programming that has to be done next. And we're going to run through that programming as well. So hopping back over here. After the squat is tested, the next thing that's tested is the lying hamstring. What we're really just looking for in the FMS, you'd be holding a dowel about mid-thigh, and with their toes pulled towards their nose, were they able to, while keeping the other leg lying on the floor. And also you want to make sure that foot doesn't drop out, because opening up your hips can also give you a little extra stretch. We don't want them to cheat the movement. We just want to see if they have tight hammies. And then tight hammies can be corrected with a lot of different things. This is like a passive leg stretch. You have foam rolling going on here. We'll also talk, I encourage you guys to Google the Gray Cook toe touch progression. That's another great exercise, and you'll find it in the programming. Third test, shoulder. So we want to know, are they more than a hand's length away when they reach around? Okay. I tested a couple girls recently that could link their fingers. I can barely scratch the back of my head, so. All right, that's as far as I can go, right? But if their shoulders are tight, if there's a good distance, and especially also if there's an asymmetry, we want things to be symmetrical, then they can do scapular wall sides, a corner wall stretch. You'll see in the programming, there's even a TRX chest stretch. Then the thoracic. So if they can't get a good rotation, test of the rotation, the elbow should be pointing at the ceiling. All right. Some people, you'd be surprised, they can't come very far. So what could we do to help them? Foam roll, the upper thoracic, the lat, doing the open books. These are things that we can do to essentially give them that T stretch. The fifth test, there's no homework, but if there is pain in either spinal extension or flexion, you tell them that they should see somebody about it, right? Like a general practitioner, or a chiropractor, or a PT, whatever the case might be, but it's not something that we can fix with homework. It's something that they need to address. Balance test. Can you stand on one leg and hold for 15 seconds? I have fun with this. I'm like, okay, I need you to stand on one leg. I'll be back in a few minutes, but for the older adults, because they only move in the sagittal plane, forwards and hardly ever even backwards, if they went to PT to improve their balance, they would actually have them do lateral walks, because it's just a plane of motion they don't normally move in, and so that engages their balance. That's one way to do it. There's other things. One of the exercises that we do in here, which is a straight arm pull down with a knee raise, is actually a corrective exercise because it teaches people to engage their core as they're stepping up. So especially for our older adults, a lot of times they don't have the balance because they're not kind of turning on their core when they're trying to get into single leg stance positions. So there are other ones that will be included in the programming, but we have the lateral walk on here as an example. And then hip mobility. They're simply sitting down and seeing, can they cross their leg over their knee without assistance, without having to use their hands to help themselves? Yeah. And again, the older we get, the tighter we get. It's a tough thing to do. So we have the foam rolling in here. We have that figure 4 stretch that they can do. If they're mobile, the pigeon stretch is a great one here, another good one. These things become their correctives, their active rest that they're doing during the workout. And then is the Thompson test. You can look it up. It would be the Thompson test. I laid somebody down the other day. They were short enough on like one of these plyo boxes as well. So you don't necessarily have to get out the stretch table, but if you have it nearby, fine. But you're pulling your opposite knee to the chest, and does the other leg lay flat? If it doesn't lay flat, what is a sign of is that you have tight hip flexors, like Holly Tinney. Mm-hmm. And so what can we do to help Holly? Great job to Adam and Andy, who have both been helping Holly. They've been doing some of the stretch flow stuff that we have, whether it be the percussion gun or just going even a little bit deeper on that and helping her to get some releases. She's somebody that even sleeps in a chair. So no doubt her hip flexors are going to be tight. We usually get tight hip flexors from sitting, and she never gives herself a break from sitting because she's sleeping in a chair, right? Right. So, 2-minute plank. That's the gold standard. World's leading spinal specialist, Stu McGill, says if we can hold our plank for 2 minutes, we're less likely to have back problems. We may still have them, but
strong core, back pain no more, Andy. Right? You know the drill.
So down here, we're getting into performance testing. It's good to set a benchmark, and this is people like Molly, who's more of like our athlete category. They respond really well to this. Some might hold 2 minutes right off the bat. They won't do everything optimally, right? So we're just writing down the time that they held. Did they go 2 minutes, or did they have to rest to get to 2 minutes? And then the 1 minute shin grab test. You're lying all the way back, sitting up, grabbing your shins. I would encourage you that if you have a client that just looks too deconditioned to do this, maybe they're obese and the idea of them grabbing their shins isn't going to happen, skip it. It's not necessary, right? You always have to use your judgment and say, well, this just wouldn't be appropriate for this client. There's a cardiovascular test that essentially, I can't remember the name of this one, but you run a mile and how long did it take you? And then later you walk a mile and then it took you less time to do it. And so therefore you're more cardio fit, right? So for us, low impact, how long does it take you to get to 25 calories on the bike, which is also a promotion for our DECA. And when they're able to do it in a shorter time, they've gotten more fit, right? The grip strength test, again, using your judgment, I would not have Holly Tinney, for example, hang from the bar to test her grip strength, but I might have a dumbbell, right? Like, there's a lot of test, and then you're likely to get injured trying it, So what we're going to do is you can either do both or one. And ideally, we would use the DECA weights because it would promote our DECA. And at the same time, it would be a good appropriate weight for somebody to try for 100 meters. And we can just write, did they have to set the weights down? That's the most important part of grip strength. Otherwise, how long did it take them? And we can have that as well, just to kind of track their benchmark for DECA. Then coming over to here, it's time for program design, which, by the way, following this type of program design makes it so much easier. Like the other day, I was going to be challenged to have to train Caitlin, very young girl and fit girl, and Holly at the same time. Mm-hmm. And I had it laid out really well. I mean, Holly did not show up, but I knew, let me use Holly as an example here. We'll pull her up and I'll even show you the contrast. But here's Holly's program. So I will say that our typical warm up starts by following the motor learning pattern. Here's something for all the group trainers that, are used to doing group. Real awkward, right? If we're just trying to break down one person, right? So, so,
Yeah.
so I say we are, you say all in, it's like,
Yeah.
it's great in a group, it's fun, but,
Yeah.
here's what's happening. You have to, one, we'll try to follow like a motor learning pattern for our group, which is, they're kind of starting on their back, rolling to their side. I knew that wasn't going to be good for Holly. So I said, what machines can she do? Right. So
Mhm.
it's a ski erg and the assault bike. Right. So we'll just warm her up there. Then her core training starts with a front plank. The next workout B, it will be notice this is A and B, right? So workout B, it will be a TRX fallout. On this day, she's doing combination movements. On that day, she's doing power development, which is another reason to have an
That's
A and
Friday.
B. Yeah, Friday would be the med ball floor slams.
Where do I find this file, or can you print it for me, or?
Good point. Yeah, Cindy, we now have a hanging files in the back, right?
Mhm.
So we have five score sheets in stock. We have a laminated assessment in the back, and we have files for each training client so that we can all pull from them and cover almost each training client. Some we still have to write.
We're working on it.
All right, so then to just kind of compare and contrast, let me show you Holly's exercises and show you how I also set it up for Caitlin. So Holly, because they wanted a single leg exercise here, functional fitness, right? Everybody needs single leg stuff.
Mm.
She was going to get a TRX assisted lunge.
Mhm.
She was going to get super band pull downs, knowing that she had tight hip flexors. She's getting the hip flexor stretch as her active rest. Now, and I am skipping over something I want to point out is that I have skipped over phase one and gone to phase two with every client because phase one has 1 to 2 sets. These guys have been doing our program long enough. They need
Yeah.
3 to 4 sets,
Yeah.
right?
Right.
So 3 to 4 sets of everything is pretty much what we're doing. And that'll work out good for you too, timing wise. Then Holly had dumbbell deadlifts, TRX push-ups, and the TRX T chest stretch, right? You're just kind of standing this way, letting it kind of
So, how
pull your.
does that work when you got another session going on and you got her using these?
Well, I asked Cindy, I said, can I just have this
Yeah,
little
just-
spot
Yep.
right here?
Okay.
Yeah, because I was kind of taking over the turf and I
Yeah.
took over this spot. And so to show you what Caitlin had, now keep in mind, remember, Holly had a TRX assisted lunge, super band pull down, dumbbell deadlift, TRX push-ups. So Caitlin, who only originally got like 9 push-ups in her assessment, when we look at Caitlin's that I was going to do simultaneously, right, same time, Caitlin was going to do a deca lunge. She has a goal to do Spartan, all right, assisted pull-ups, right? So Holly's right there doing the pull down while she's doing the pull up, right? Very easy to kind of have them both right there together. She did have an asymmetry with her shoulders, so she was going to do the scapular wall side right there on that wall. Well, Holly's, right here doing her, stretch, right, to stretch her hip flexor. And then she was going to do a barbell deadlift, which she did end up doing. She does 85 pounds on the barbell deadlift. Well, Holly was going to do a dumbbell deadlift, and she was doing push-ups to continue to work on that upper body strength for all that burpee strength that she's going to need. Well, Holly was doing a TRX push-up, and then Holly was stretching her shoulders, and Caitlin, who can more easily get down on the floor, was going to use the foam roll for the flex and extend. They were both going to finish with rope intervals for time and both do the best that they could.
Mhm.
And it was going to be simple to train two people very diverse
Mhm.
in a customized way,
Mm-hmm.
same time, right?
Mhm.
So that was
I like it.
just an example of program design. And to conclude this video, because you guys have been really helpful for something I need to do for everybody, I just want to say that we have a goal to get to 50 upgrades. So the letter, the QR codes, and I think that every coach that's going to do this should have a QR code up there, so then that way people can find times that work for them. In addition to that, we're going to keep having workshops. This is not like the beginning and the end, but the beginning. And in this upcoming workshop, we're only taking 20. They're traveling in groups of 4. Probably good that we're talking about this at the end of our meeting. We'll have to circle to it, but there's going to be a life coaching station, a small group training station where we kind of highlight our assessment and program design. So then that way we can keep on promoting things. So by the way, when you use this program design, it's so easy, like just drop it down, just drop it down and plug the exercise in, or if you don't, but that, a quick little overview of what we'll need to do.